Hildegard, briefly, she lived in the district of Rhine in Germany, born in 1098. She was the youngest of 7 children, which always reminds me of The Sound of Music. So, 7 children, Maria, but you like children? Yes, but 7. Crazy. So, I didn't leave the convent and marry the naval captain and have to look after 7 children, but I was very much, how do you solve a problem like Caroline when I was in there. So St. Hildegard, the youngest of 7 children, running around the German hills like Julie Andrews when she was younger, lived a very long life, about 80 years or so, a long life of prayer. She entered a Benedictine monastery over there, and in 1136 was elected abbess. Living the Benedictine life, so St. Benedict now is about 100 years or so after the end of St. Anthony of Egypt. Benedict's rule shaped Western monasticism, but in it contained those teachings of the Desert Fathers and the prophets. St. Hildegard founded monasteries over Germany, just like Teresa had done, insisting on the importance of prayer. When she was younger, she received a series of visions which set her apart, if you like, from her sisters. Not in a negative way, they didn't tease her about it, but God was bestowing gifts on her, if you like, so that she could then help the wider world. At that time, women preaching obviously was frowned upon, but she did 4 tours across Germany where she actually preached about the importance of prayer, the importance of community life, and like Teresa, railing against clergymen who weren't doing their jobs properly. She really was being quite bossy and saying, you know, we mustn't think about the material, we must get you to focus on God and get followers that way. So she was really quite bossy and quite determined, I imagine a little bit like Elijah, full of zest for the importance of our connection to God. She worked in the medicine garden in the convent. So in those times in monastic life, you would have a herb garden, and she spent a lot of time, literally every single day, studying plant life and trees and flowers and how they can help people. Obviously in those days, you weren't just nipping to Tesco for your ibuprofen. You had to use what the earth gave you. So she had a famous quote saying, the earth must not be destroyed. Of course, you end up coming through the centuries after, the idea of witchcraft, and that women were actually, you know, herbalists and things like that. Was all very dark and dodgy and the work of the devil. That's not what she was doing. She was saying, from a point of view of Genesis, if you like, that God created the world, everything within it he saw was good. The plant life is just as important. The trees, God gave us all of it. Therefore, if you're going to use it, you know, use it for medicine. Use what God has given us. So she was very advanced in biology and medicine, and even things like plant crops when the moon is going through a certain cycle, and heal ailments in people on a waning moon. You know, very, very precise, if you like, explaining how we're not separate from nature. Man is also nature, and whatever you do to nature, you will do to yourself. So she's trying to put that out there, and she became quite a profound scholar of natural science. So there is nothing hocus pocus at all in the healing power of plants. It's absolutely vital medicine. And in fact, most of our medicine today comes from a lot of herbal remedies, ancient, years old. She was 14 years old when she took her monastic vows, which you might think is very, very young. I couldn't have imagined taking my vows aged 14 when we're teenagers are supposed to be running around. So she entered the monastery aged 14, and her parents were very, very encouraging. So they could see her potential, and a community of monks that lived nearby her family said, you know, Hildegard has got a lot of potential, she should come into the convent, and she did. So she gained a lot of confidence and became abbess in 1136. So she really does stand for the study of the Bible, the medicine woman, the composer. Her chants are played an awful lot on Radio 3. If you get a chance to listen, it's always St. Hildegard is sometimes at the top of women composers. She's very popular, and she also wrote plays, and they're still being performed today, which is incredible when you think she was around in 1098. So she really is an icon. Pope Benedict, our late Pope Benedict XVI, declared her a doctor of the Church in 2012. He said that she was a true and authentic teacher of theology and a profound scholar of natural science and music. And also, like Teresa, she was heavily inspired by the Virgin Mary, so there were Marian themes all through Hildegard's writing. And there's a wonderful book you can read about her called Vision, if any of you want to look further. So much of her doctrine is in there.